Let's have the real number system. So this is the mathematical notation for real numbers. So a real number is a set containing rational and irrational numbers. This is the notation for rational numbers, and this one is the notation for irrational numbers. Now, as you have noticed, irrational numbers is just a complement of the rational numbers. Okay? So, rational numbers are those real numbers which we can express as the quotient of P and Q. Okay? So, from the word itself, ratio. Okay? So, the ratio of P and Q. Example, we have 1/4. 1/4 is a rational number because we can express this 1/4 in this form P over Q, where our P is 1 and our Q is 4. Another example is, say, negative 3/5. So negative 3/5 is a rational number because we can express this real number as the quotient of P and Q. Okay? So any real number that can be expressed as a ratio of the numbers P and Q is a rational number, hence a real number. So we also have real numbers that we cannot express as a ratio of this P to Q. Okay? So meaning we have real numbers that are irrational. Okay? So we have these irrational numbers. Example of irrational numbers are pi, okay, which we have known to have a estimate value which is 3.14. That 3.14 is just an estimate value of pi. Pi is irrational, therefore pi, we cannot express pi as the ratio of numbers P and Q. Also, we have this real number. This is known as the Euler's constant. Okay, its approximate value is 2 point something. Okay, so Euler's constant cannot be expressed as a ratio of two numbers. Okay, so that's it with rational and irrational. Combining rational and irrational, we get the real numbers. Okay, now let's proceed to rational. So rational numbers is a set of negative integers and whole numbers. Okay, so negative integers is expressed in this mathematical notation Z minus, okay, while whole numbers is expressed in this mathematical notation capital W. Okay, so what are negative integers? Negative integers are rational numbers. Okay, example of negative integers, we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and so on. Okay, and we also have whole numbers. Okay, whole number is the set containing 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, now these whole numbers can be subdivided into two sets. Okay, so whole numbers is the set containing 0 integer and positive integers. So kung napapansin nyo sa set ng whole numbers, meron tayong 0 na element which is our zero integer. So zero integer is the set containing a single tone 0. Okay, so there's only one element in the set of zero integer, while for the positive integers are the remaining elements of whole numbers except zero integers. So we have is the set containing 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so positive integers is sometimes called as Z positive, the positive integer, or not the set of natural numbers. So we call this natural numbers kasi ito naman yung gamit natin ng mga numbers when we count, diba? Natural numbers or counting numbers. Okay, so when we count, say for example, we want to count the number of members in a certain household, so we start with 1. We do not start the counting with 0. Okay, so that's it. So that's it with the real numbers. Now, a real number can be represented graphically. Say, and then we choose an arbitrary point in the set of real numbers. Say we have this arbitrary point 0, which we call the origin. Okay, and then we equally divide this graph of real numbers. Say this is positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, and so on. And we have negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3, and so on. Now, this family of real numbers are all present in this graph of real numbers. By the way, we call this graph as the real continuum. Okay. Say for example, can we find the rational number in the real continuum? Yes. Say for example here. This point here is the location of the rational number 1/2. Okay. So how about negative 2/3? Can we locate negative 2/3 in the real continuum? Yes. So negative 2/3. It's negative 2/3. Say, so here is negative 2/3. Okay. So irrational numbers can also be located or plotted in the real continuum. Say for example pi. Pi has an estimate value of it's 3.14. It's an approximated value. So say here 3.14. So have the estimate location of pi. So negative integers are these real numbers on the left of the origin point 0. And whole numbers are the real numbers except negative integers. So 0 is an element of the whole number. 1, 2, and 3 are also elements of the whole numbers. So 0 integer is the origin, and the positive integers, the natural numbers or the counting numbers, we have 1, 2, and 3. So say for example, we have a point on the real continuum. Say this is point A, and this is point B. Notice that point A is greater than point B. Okay? So point A is greater than point B. And when we say the directed line or directed line segment from A to B is not the same with the directed line from B to A. Okay, so we are talking here of directed line segment. Okay, so this directed line segment AB refers to the direction of the line segment from A to B. Okay, and that is different or not equal to the directed line segment referring to B to A. So magkaiba yan silang dalawa. In fact, when we add the directed line segment of AB to the directed line segment of BA, we get 0. Now let's have the rectangular coordinate system, or also known as the Cartesian plane or Cartesian coordinate system, in honor of the mathematician named René Descartes, who firstly devised this coordinate system. So the purpose of a rectangular coordinate system is for us to describe the position of a point in a plane. So we draw a pair of perpendicular reference lines. Okay, this horizontal reference line is what we call the x-axis, which is composed of the positive x-axis and the negative x-axis. And this vertical reference line is what we call the y-axis, which is also composed of positive y-axis and negative y-axis. Okay, and notice that our plane, this is our plane. Our plane is divided into 4 equal regions. Okay, and what are those regions? We call them, this region is called quadrant 1 or first quadrant. This region is called quadrant 2 or second quadrant. This region is quadrant 3, and this region is quadrant 4. Okay, and their point of intersection of these perpendicular reference lines is called the origin. Okay. This point of intersection is known as the point of origin, which is which we arbitrarily assign a value 0. So since this is a rectangular coordinate system, let's say 0. Now, as I have said a while ago, this rectangular coordinate system will be used to describe the position of a point in a plane. Suppose, okay, so we divide first, we equally divide the axis. Say this is positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, and okay, and to the left of the x-axis positive y-axis, say and the negative y-axis. Okay. So say for example, we have a point plotted in quadrant 1. Say this is the plot of the point. Say this is point P. Okay. So the position of any point in the plane, I'm referring to this, the position of this point P on the plane, particularly in quadrant 1, can be described by giving its distance from these two axes. Okay. So, what is the distance, the positive distance of this point P from the x-axis? What do you think? So, the distance of this point P from the x-axis is this one. And what is the distance of this point from the y-axis? Okay, we have this. Therefore, the coordinates of point P is the coordinates 2 and 4. Okay. We call this 2, 4 as the rectangular coordinates. Sorry, my board is moving. And rectangular coordinates are expressed as the ordered pair x, y. Okay? So, where our x is 2, meaning this point corresponds to the value in x, which is positive 2, or value in the x-axis, which is positive 2. And this 4, which is our y, corresponds to the value on the y-axis, which is 4. That's it. In addition, this 2 here is known as the x coordinate or the abscissa. And this 4 is known as the y coordinate, or other term is simply the ordinate. Now, the process of locating points when their coordinates are given is called plotting the points. So, say for example, in what quadrant can we, or in what quadrant is the point, say, the point -3, +2 located? Again, the point is -3, +2. So, -3 is on the x-axis, so we have this -3, and +2 is on the y-axis, so we have this. Now, intersecting these two, this is the point that I referred a while ago. Okay. Sorry. This is point, -3, and +2. And the process of locating that point, -3 and 2, is known as plotting the points, or plotting of points. How about if I instruct you to plot the point -5, -4. So, saan quadrant kaya mapaplat or malulocate ang point -5 and -4? You get it right? It's on quadrant 3. Okay? So, -5, point -5 and -4, meaning -5 is on the x-axis, this one, and we have -4. Okay? So, okay, estimate lang natin yung location or yung plot. So, this is -5 and -4. It's in quadrant 3. How about if I instruct you to plot the point +3 and -3? So, that's it. +3 and -3. So, this is point +3 and -3. And it's in quadrant 4. Now, let's compare the quadrants. Ano kaya yung purpose ng bakit meron tayong quadrant 1? Why do we have quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4? Each quadrant kasi iba-iba yung sign ng ating mga coordinates or ng ating rectangular coordinates. So for example, in quadrant 1, our point 24, the coordinates are both positive. The abscissa or the x-coordinate 2 is positive, and the y-coordinate or the ordinate 4 is positive. Therefore, lahat ng mga points na positive ang coordinates ay makikita sa quadrant 1. Okay, kasi nga, yung x-axis natin is positive, at saka yung y-axis natin is positive. So, lahat ng mga points sa quadrant 1 are all positive. Now, for quadrant 2, okay, so yung quadrant 2 naman, makikita siya sa negative x-axis and positive y-axis. Therefore, the abscissa is negative and the ordinate is positive. Okay, and it's true for all points located in quadrant 2. For quadrant 3 naman, quadrant 3 is found in the negative x-axis and the negative y-axis. Therefore, yung abscissa natin is negative and the ordinate is negative. Therefore, lahat ng rectangular coordinates in quadrant 3 are all negative sign. And how about in quadrant 4? Quadrant 4 is located in the region under positive x-axis and to the right of negative y-axis. Therefore, our abscissa is positive and our ordinate is negative. Therefore, lahat ng rectangular coordinates in quadrant 4 ay positive, negative. Or para mas na-recall natin, sa quadrant 1 is positive, positive yung ating rectangular coordinates. And for quadrant 2, it's negative and positive. And for quadrant 3, both are negative. And in quadrant 4, the abscissa is positive and the ordinate is negative. So, that's it with the rectangular coordinate system.